When can I apply for U.S. citizenship? Well, most people must wait 5 years after getting their green card to apply for naturalized U.S. citizenship. Important exceptions are available. If you are U.S. permanent or conditional resident, that it is, someone with a green card, you might want to apply for U.S. citizenship as soon as possible. After all, it offers many benefits, such as freedom from deportation, the right to vote in the U.S. elections, the ability to live abroad without losing your U.S. status, the ability to help more your foreign-born relative to immigrate, and more. However, no one can apply for naturalized U.S. citizenship immediately after receiving a green card. You have to wait some years and be ready to meet other requirements. This video will discuss when you actually can apply. The 5 years permanent resident rule with exceptions for naturalization eligibility. The basic rule is that you cannot submit your Form N-400 to apply for U.S. citizenship or apply to naturalize until you have lived in the United States as a lawful permanent resident for at least 5 years. That means exactly 5 years to stay. For example, if you were approved for permanent residence on August 17, 2016, you will be eligible for citizenship on August 17, 2021. Check your green card permanent resident card for the exact date on which you became permanent resident. If you start out as conditional resident or permanent resident, more likely because you got your resident either through recent marriage to a U.S. citizen or through an investor visa. 2 years as a conditional resident also count as a permanent resident on one condition. You must necessarily become a permanent resident at the end of those 2 years. Any of the several exceptions could, however, reduce the amount of time you must wait. Keep watching for a rundown of these exceptions, or at least the one that applies to civilians if you're a member, a relative, or someone who has been in the U.S. Armed Forces. Remember, guys, the N-400, how to fill out the form, is on this channel by parts and a complete video. Also, we have it in both languages, Spanish and English. The 90 days early application rule for submitting N-400. Despite the 5 years of permanent resident requirement, you're actually allowed to submit your naturalization application to UCS within the 90 days before your 5-year anniversary has arrived. The reason has to do with timing. Your application must be submitted by mail using a form provided by UCS code N-400, usually with an ability to take a long time to process. N-400 to arrange for you to be a fingerprint and to call you for an interview, at which it actually reviews your application, tests on your knowledge of English and U.S. government, and make a decision whether to approve or deny you. Also, they have the ability, you could also do it by online. Now UCS give you the time that you could also do it online, okay? You could find online, not only by mail. In fact, even under normal scheduling, UCS will all likely take at least 90 days to call you in for an interview, which is what officially said that you're safe applying with a time period. Be sure not to apply earlier than 90 days before you're eligible. However, UCS will return your application. Exception for the 5-year rule for people married to a U.S. citizen. You need to wait at least 3 years to apply for U.S. citizenship if during that time you have been permanent or conditional resident, married to as well as living with a U.S. citizen. You will need to provide proof that you qualify along with your application. This exception applies if you did not get your green card through this marriage. So for example, you could have gotten a green card through an employer that married a U.S. citizen soon after, and you still need to wait only 3 years for the date of your marriage to apply for citizenship. You will, however, need to stay married to a U.S. citizen spouse all the way past your citizenship interview and approval, and through your swearing in a U.S. citizen at the oath ceremony. This session won't work if you separate or divorce legally prior to being sworn in as a citizen, or even if you choose to stop living with your spouse. Unfortunately, you will also lose the exception if your spouse dies before your naturalization interview. Exception for 5-year naturalization eligibility rule for battered spouses of a U.S. citizen granted by VAWA protected. Congress didn't want immigrants to have to stay in abusive marriage for 3 years just to obtain a benefit of 3 years exception when they apply for U.S. citizenship. So it created a section for people who got their green card through marriage for a U.S. citizen, but based on self-petition on Form I-360 due to the fact that U.S. citizen was physical or emotional abuse. These immigrants can apply for U.S. citizenship during or using the 3-year exception. Children can also use this exception, although they must still reach age 18 before submitting the application for citizenship. Partial exception to 5-year naturalization eligibility rule for refugees. If you got a green card based on having come into the United States as a refugee, part of your time as a refugee can be counted as if you were a permanent resident, known as a rollback. If you were granted refugee status while you were in another country, use the date to enter the United States at the beginning of your permanent residence. No matter how many years you live in the United States as a refugee before eventually becoming a permanent resident, those years will count as if you have been a permanent resident. The whole time purposes of calculating when you can apply for naturalized citizenship. If you obtain your green card through the Liberating Refugee Immigration Fairness Act, you will also benefit from this rollback. Check your green card for the date that UCIS recorded your admission as a lawful permanent resident. Several partial exception to 5-year naturalization eligibility rule for asylees. If you got your green card based on having received asylum in the United States 1 year at your time as asylee counts as if you were a permanent resident, known as rollback. Note, however, that if you waited longer than 1 year after receiving the asylum to apply for your green card, the extra time will not be counted toward your permanent residency, period. So you will have to wait full 4 years from the actual date when you approve your green card. Exception to 5-year rule: spouses are U.S. citizens in certain overseas jobs. If your spouse has 2 jobs requiring the two to live overseas, you'll be able to apply citizenship without 5 years or permanent residence if you're willing to come back to the United States to apply for application anytime after you receive the permanent residence. There are numbers of limitations who could use this provision. You must be regularly stationed abroad due to spouse employment. So you must declare an intention to live in the United States when your spouse's employment ends. And finally, your spouse's employer must be either a U.S. government such as CIA, military, Peace Corps, or American Red Cross, a U.S. research institution that has been recognized by an attorney general, a U.S. firm or corporation, a public international organization with the United States participant, a treaty or statute, a religious denomination that has organization within the United States. Other requirements for citizenship might require you to wait longer if you have not spent required amount of the physical presence in the United States, have not lived in the district or state whether you found your application at least 3 months before submitting, and 400 application has spent more than a year outside the United States, cannot yet demonstrate that you have had a good moral character. And if you haven't yet learned through English to pass the exam, you will be given a topic of study that require U.S. civics and history question that you'll also be tested on. Be sure to work on that before submitting your citizenship application. Remember to subscribe to my channel, activate notification bell to receive notifications when I upload new videos, like, comment below, and share. Have a blessed day. Remember to subscribe to my channel, activate notification bell to receive notifications when I upload new videos, like, comment below, and share. Have a blessed day.